So now I want to show you how comedians reacted to Will Smith assaulting one of the most iconic comedians in the world, Chris Rock, while he did one of the most lamest, tamest jokes I've ever heard. Here it is. Here's what happened.
Oh, wow. Wow. Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me.
Get my name out your fucking mouth.
Wow, dude.
Yeah.
It was a G.I. Jane joke.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth.
I'm going to, okay?
Okay,
Oh, man.
so we
He
saw
had to resist. Going, but I can eat a pussy.
So this happened. Yeah, Chris Rock had a million jokes he wanted to say right then, and I wish he would have. I don't know why he didn't. I didn't know why he didn't say, "Hey, maybe you could." I saw somebody on
20
Twitter.
things immediately to say after
There's
that.
a million things. Someone said, "Boy, if he's this angry in March, wait till you see him in August." So here's this guy tweeted out, "Will also be interesting to see how the comedy community reacts. Without consequences for Will Smith, hecklers might feel emboldened to attack the audience." You might.
More emboldened?
Might. So I've had someone come on stage twice, and one time someone threw shit at me, a glass, on stage. Both those times when someone came on stage, the guy did not get thrown out from the club, just like they did at the Oscars. The one guy was a biker. So I was on stage in Wisconsin, and there was a biker, and he was with a table full of bikers. He literally came on stage to beat me up. He came on stage. It was dark room. All of a sudden, I see the guy coming out of the corner of my eye, and I jumped off the stage into the crowd, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on here?
Why? What was the thing that set him off?
He was heckling me, and I said something. I insulted him. I don't remember what I said.
I had a guy that I lightly went talk back to a guy heckling me, and like later after the show, his wife comes like, "Listen, don't say anything to him. He's a Hell's Angel. Like, he doesn't know any better." She was very nice, actually, explaining to me, like, these guys just attack you like randomly. Like,
so here's
all the time.
Here's what David Spade tweeted out: a G.I. Jane joke. This guy says, "Good thing he didn't joke about Jada fucking other guys."
Probably would have been safer with that.
Yeah. Patton Oswalt said, so that was David Spade. This is Patton Oswalt. Very nervous for my shows at the Irvine Improv tomorrow and Tuesday. Anyone have a catcher's mask I can borrow? You know how vulnerable you are on stage? You have lights in your face. You can't see anything. You can't see if someone's coming at you. And you know there's crazy people in the world. There's that guy from Pantera that's got his head blown up. We've been assaulted. I'm sure Patton's been assaulted on stage. I'm sure.
Well, he's known to be Dave Chappelle's friend, and I don't think that apology cut it with.
I don't think it cut it.
People.
No. Here's Ross Noble. He says, just a heads up to anyone planning on watching live comedy. You are not permitted to get up on stage and hit the comedian unless you are at least Oscar nominated. This is the worst thing Will Smith has done since his singing in Aladdin.
It's the most humiliating, that's for sure.
And now, forever, comedians are going to be humiliating Will Smith for the rest of his life. Forever. Because Will Smith is not going to make a sincere apology because he's not sorry. Didn't someone from his family already tweet out, this is how we do things? Right? Who told me that? Did someone tell me? Did you tell me that, Kurt? Did you tell me that, Steph? Okay. I want to be a vessel for love, unless a comedian who is paid to and is infamous for making fun of famous people makes fun of my famous wife. Then I'll physically assault that person on national TV. Will Smith is a disingenuous fuck. Shut up. That's well said, Ray Stern comedy. Do you know Ray Stern? Me neither. Here's Kathy Griffin.
Oh, wow.
Let me tell you something. It's very bad practice to walk up on stage and physically assault a comedian. Now we all have to worry about who wants to be the next Will Smith in comedy clubs and theaters. That's exactly right.
I mean, I was already worried. I guess now she has to worry more.
Here's Judd Apatow. He deleted this tweet.
I wrote jokes for this too, by the way.
Where the fuck am I? You got to
I
remind
didn't
me.
want to say them. I figured it'd be one.
I forgot. I get all wrapped up in the thing, Kurt, and I forgot.
Go back.
Well, I don't want to say them, and then you can't say them.
Let's see.
He could have killed him.
So anyway, he could have killed him. This is Judd Apatow, the famous director. That's pure out of control rage and violence. That's true. They've heard a million jokes about them in the last 3 decades. They are not freshmen in the world of Hollywood and comedy. He lost his mind. He did lose his mind. And that got 11,000 likes, 17,000 quotes. So people were coming at him over this. And he deleted it. Judd, why the fuck would you do that? Why would you delete that tweet? The fuck is wrong with you?
He, maybe because he could have killed him. That part's like
he could have killed him
from a slab. I mean, he could have someone could potentially kill you coming on stage, but
well, if you hit
it's out of control, rage and violence. No
you
question.
can if you. First of all, you know how when you get knocked out, you don't get knocked out because you get hit with knuckles. That's not what knocks you out. What knocks you out is because your head jerks so fast, it rattles your brain against the inside of your skull, and that creates you to get knocked out. It's not from the knuckles. So it didn't matter that he hit him with an open hand or a closed hand. He was going to jar his head. And somehow Chris Rock rolled with it in a way that didn't knock him out. So he could have been knocked out. He could have had brain damage. He could have that's not hyperbole.
Do you think if he did die from that, they would still give Will the award?
They would still give him he'd be a bigger victim. Will Smith would be how can you deal with it? They'd feel worse than they feel for Alec Baldwin. So Jim Gaffigan, I don't have the tweet because he deleted it, but Jim Gaffigan, who is hilarious, Jim Gaffigan said that he likened what Will Smith did to Donald Trump because Donald Trump said that when you're famous, you can do anything you want. And that's exactly what Will Smith just proved, that he's so famous, he can do anything he wants, including assaulting someone criminally in front of everyone on camera.
Wait, Jim took that down? Why?
Well, here's why. Because people went after, just like Judd Apatow. People are. So this is when you don't have the power of your own conviction, like Judd Apatow, you didn't delete that tweet, which is horrible. And then Jim Gaffigan deleted his tweet equating Trump to Will Smith, which was accurate, 100%.
Why is it a bad comparison? It's a great.
And he says bad comparison on my part. I was trying to make a point, but it didn't matter. FYI, I didn't think the joke was brilliant. I said Chris Rock is brilliant. I still do, and we don't deserve his brilliance. Please continue to defend physical assault. It says so much. So at least Jim Gaffigan's still sticking by that. But he didn't. Jim thought his comparison to Trump and Will Smith was too bad. He had to take it down, or it'll hurt his career. So he took it down.
That's what that is. Yeah.
Of course, that's what that is.
Yeah. Wow, it's really accurate too. Like he should have went with his gut.
Here's another one. Rick Overton, friend of the show. It is certainly an age of miracles. Will Smith assaults Chris Rock and then gives the worst performance of his career during the acceptance speech for his Oscar. I've seen televangelists pull off sniffer crying more effectively. Rick, he was sniff crying because another guy apparently banged. Oh no.
Okay.
That's a great joke. Why do I puss out on a joke like that, Kurt?
I don't. Well, because you don't want to get assaulted.
Hang on. Rick Overton is texting me right now. Let's see. Here we go. How about what if I tweeted out, I encourage club bouncers to take hecklers out in the back alley and beat the shit out of them? How about if all comedians tweeted that out? Would that make people want to go to comedy clubs? Would that make us not sound like fucking psychos?
You would be the idea that first of all, standing on stage and doing any jokes, people are more scared of that than like being assaulted, just performing. And so they think you're like you should be able to take any kind of abuse because you're this like in this power position. I mean, there is some element of power to it, but just don't be violent. I mean, the whole point of it is to not have violence, just talking.
I'm sure Chris thought Jada's look tonight was a badass choice. So this is Doug Benson. So I don't know if you know Doug Benson, and he's
Yeah,
in
I know
that
Doug.
movie Super High Me. I'm talking about to the audience.
Oh.
I did the marijuana logs with him that he invented with Arj Barker and Tony Kameen, and he's a hilarious comedian, very popular. And he tweeted out, "I'm sure Chris thought Jada's look tonight was a badass choice, and he thinks G.I. Jane was a badass. She was. So in his mind, he was giving her a jokey compliment."
That's what it seemed like to me.
That's
too.
what it seems like to me too. And that's why he said that was not. That's why Chris Rock goes, "That was nice. It was nice." He was giving her kind of a badass compliment. You look like a badass. That's certainly a way you could take that. And by the
Oscars
way,
suck.
there are super famous people who have had jokes made about them for decades, and deservedly so.
Yeah, right. It was that first comment from Regina King that was in his back of his head, and it was like, "I got to show I'm like a man now," kind of nonsense.
Yes, that was him having his masculinity threatened, and he had to go assert himself. It was about him.
Yeah.
It wasn't about his wife. It
He's
wasn't
not
about
protecting his family.
He's not protecting anyone.
Yeah, right. Protecting his own.
Ego.
You're making it less safe for everybody who's a live performer, Will Smith. You didn't protect shit. You did the exact opposite. You made everyone less safe. And all those assholes at the Oscars, of course they're going to applaud for you, because they're all shallow, fucking gutless wonders who are superficial maniacs just like you.
Yeah, they have no principle other than what's the thing now that I'm supposed to.
This guy says, Will Smith and Chris Rock just explained my position on microaggressions, white people saying the N-word, and the entire concept of free speech. Everyone should have the absolute right to say whatever they want, but you can't then restrict people's reaction to what you said. You actually can. That's called a crime.
What is he talking about?
That's actually, you can. That there's actually already a law in place that restricts that kind of thing. We actually already agree as a society that we restrict that kind of thing.
It's called self-control.
We already agree as a society. And did people tell me I have anger problems, and here they are defending Will Smith's outburst of rage. Like he did it, like it was a good Christian thing to do.
I mean, that's a bit much extra to make a Christian on top of it. The exact opposite of being a Christian.
It's bad practice to make fun of someone's medical condition with their husband sitting right there. Some of y'all comedians act like there are no boundaries, but the real world reminds you quick that there are consequences. The real world should have reminded Will Smith that he should be in jail, that we actually have a constitution and laws, and you can't do that shit in America.
It's pretty obvious there's no boundaries if you can just assault.
That's right.
The guy on stage. What are you talking about?
So we're supposed to, well, here's what I said. The consequence should have been Will Smith being escorted out by security and arrested. You know you've lost all perspective when you demand comedians respect verbal boundaries of celebrities while cheering on violating someone's physical boundaries via assault.
Yeah.
So there are no boundaries then. So if you think you can slap someone or assault someone, and that was far from a slap. That was 6'2" guy hitting you with everything he's got with an open hand. That's the farthest thing from a slap.
Why are they mad about people with guns and stuff then? If that, like,
right?
I don't like, you need guns now because people are going to be apparently slapping. Like,
and there it is. And then 15 minutes later, they gave him the top prize in Hollywood. He's on their stage assaulting their hired host. They hired him to do the jokes. And if it comes out that joke he did about G.I. Jane was in the script,
yeah,
Chris Rock should sue the Academy, and he'll probably get $50 million. And why would he get $50 million? Because now he's psychologically traumatized and he has to worry about being assaulted for the rest of his fucking life because he's in the #1 stage in the world and they didn't protect him.
Yeah, and nobody thinks the Fresh Prince is going to be the one to do it either.
Right. So here's another one. Every black male stereotype acted out for the world to see by the biggest black male movie star in America history. Violent, overly emotional, lack of impulse control. And every black person in media will be making excuses for this. Just sad, man, sad. That's said by a black guy named Rob Smith. I don't know who that is.
Well, Chris didn't exhibit that at all. Chris,
Right.
Chris had the most grace I've ever seen of a situation like that.
Will Smith may be asked to hand back his Oscar due to breaking the Academy's code of conduct, sources tell. That is not happening. I shouldn't make predictions. But
I don't think that's going to happen.
But that's not happening. In fact, nothing's going to happen to Will Smith.
That's why that
he'll write a joke about how he's the. I mean, he'll write a movie or he'll be in a movie about how he's the victim of something like this.
Well,
you don't get to break the law, assault someone on national television, and then run around like you're everybody's protector. You just made everybody less safe.
this is like when Harvey Weinstein said he had to do all that stuff because he was so upset about gun violence. Do you remember that was one of his defenses? I lashed out because I was upset about gun violence when Harvey Weinstein was first going into court.
No.
Yeah, they did. You're totally right. They did not address any of the problem that caused Harvey Weinstein.
And now Chris Rock has to worry about copycat nutcases on the road for the rest of his career. Somebody going to buy a ticket who's a Will Smith fan and want to get on stage and punch him. He's going to have to worry about that anywhere and everywhere he goes for the rest of his life. It's nuts. And Chris Rock is one of those guys. Now, you write for Chris Rock, right?
Oh, man, I was supposed to he had texted me about jokes for the Oscars, and I had 2 shows working on, so I didn't hear back from him, and I didn't realize the date of the Oscars, so I landed last night, and somebody was like, did you write it? I'm like, no, and I just saw the slap, like, oh, it's my fault. Look, this is my fault. I could have given him
So you were supposed to be writing jokes for him for the Oscars,
yeah,
but you kind of flaked.
Yeah, and now you saw what happened. So apologies to Chris.
So this is in response to David Spade, referencing his wife that has a medical condition that she's dealing with. Whether it's a joke or not, some things are off limits, and talking about someone's wife and the mother of their children is one of them. I don't care who you are or where you're from or how famous. That is the craziest shit. So again, it's basically everyone has the right to assault anyone who they feel offended them.
Well, you remember when America was at war, talking about how crazy these Muslim countries will just kill you for some stupid thing, and that's meanwhile us.
Meanwhile, here we are. And down here, some things are off limits, like assaulting people. You know what's off limits? Assaulting people, not telling jokes about famous millionaire celebrities. That's never going to be off limits, ever. And why is it okay to make... They go, oh, well, she has a condition that she has a medical condition that's causing her to lose her hair. Kurt, I'm pretty sure you have the same thing.
Yeah, I know.
It's called male pattern baldness. That's a medical condition that causes men to lose their hair. And guess what? People make bald jokes all the fucking time about men. Always.
Honestly, if I was a cuckold, I'd slap you for that. She's definitely clearly the higher testosterone of the family, I think, is perfectly clear.
The bizarre thing is that Will Smith won the Oscar for playing their dad because when is the last time you saw a movie where the dad got credit for anything? Am I right? Come on.
They normally hate dads, don't they?
Yeah. All right. Well, I covered this. I'm glad I did. I'm sorry I ran over.
Oh, will you just read the Jeffrey Ross thing? Because I think it was beautifully stated.
So Jeffrey Ross, you texted it to me, right?
Yeah. Sorry.
So Jeffrey Ross says, I worship Chris Rock. I cried when I saw Smith attack him because I was watching my idol live out a comedian's worst nightmare on live television. Rock should get a Nobel Peace Prize for keeping his hands down and not escalating the situation. Class act. If Jada wasn't feeling the joke, Smith should have put his arm around her and let Rock finish. Anyway, I also have alopecia. It sucks, but when people make jokes, I laugh because that's life. Jeff Ross.
Yeah, I was going to say he has alopecia, but he calls it right there. Chris Rock, I thought that's how better could he have handled it, honestly? He could have said a million easy jokes to slam Will Smith, but
he didn't do. He de-escalated the situation. Because because Chris Rock wanted to honor the documentary award winner that he was about to give the Oscar to.
So you're saying God was with him and not Will Smith?
Isn't that crazy? Hey, we're doing our live stand-up tour. We're going to be in Orlando. We're going to be in Tampa, Columbus, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, much, much more. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com for a link for all the tickets. And you can come see our shows in Los Angeles, too. We do one weekly. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com and become a premium member while you're there. Get all the extra content. Thank you.